All right,
Okay.
welcome. I'm Scotty,
Thank you.
and my friend here is Kellie. We host this discussion group. We had some other members tonight, but
Uh,
they weren't able to make it, so it's just going to be an intimate discussion between us three.
okay.
And I was figuring we could start with the marches that we were all in. Well, I wasn't in it, but I was cheering for both of you. So I'm
Yeah.
interested to know where you both were and what happened.
So just the recent one, because I've been to
Yeah.
a few recent events on the island, but the most recent one was in Nanaimo, of course, last weekend, so last Saturday. I think it was the 21st of October. Is that right? Am I remembering that right?
Yes,
Um,
that's correct.
yeah, so um I showed up on my own, and the crowd was pretty small when I got there. I was pretty early. It was a little bit before the starting time, and the trans activist group had taken the sidewalk directly in front of the city hall. And then across the street on the other sidewalk, there was a smaller group. I think there were maybe 20 or 30 parents, or a lot of grandparents, actually, it seemed, and a lot of people that didn't have signs and were just kind of wondering and talking to each other and trying to figure it out, because a couple events had been canceled, and so there's a little bit of confusion,
Hmm.
but we were all just glad to meet each other, and grateful that other people cared enough to show up. um and so as I said, the two groups were separated. They probably had about 40 or 50 people on their side. And but there was one big guy that had come over, flamboyantly dressed with a flag, that was standing on our side. And there also was one woman that was holding a sign that said, "Let kids be kids." And that was pretty much it. There weren't, as I said, there weren't a lot of other signs or anything like that, but I had a sign in the car. So I thought, I'll go get my sign, and then I'll stand with this woman here, because she was out there all by herself. And so I went, got my sign, and I came over. My sign says, "Get the cult out of schools." So I went and I stood next to her, and we had our signs, by the road together. But this flag was kind of it was in front of us. This other person, with the big flag, was positioning in such a way that the cars wouldn't see our signs well.
Right.
And then, yeah, and then
Sorry to
I saw
interrupt.
another.
Was that person wearing the rainbow leotards with the red wig?
Exactly, someone like,
That
yeah.
is Hope Bingham, who was screaming at us, including Kelly and myself, at the Megan Murphy event. I'm almost wondering if you were recognized and targeted because of that, but
Possible.
that's
I felt quite targeted, as you'll see as I tell the story. It definitely seemed that quite likely that I was targeted. Um, so here comes this other person walking right towards me, and he's got the big long stick. And someone was saying in the photo they could see that it was actually aluminum reinforced stick, because they're bringing weapons out there, right? And they have a sign on the end, but he's putting a stick in my face is what's happening. And it's a long
Mhm.
stick, it's got metal on it, like this is their modus operandus or whatever. Like, he's coming straight towards me, he's got the sign out, and he's covering up our signs with his sign, right? And they lift trying to move, get my sign out and into the view, and he puts his stick and sign right in my face. And so I just stepped back. I just said, "I'm gonna retreat." And I didn't say anything, but I just stepped back, and I went onto the sidewalk, and I started walking down the sidewalk. And I felt very agitated. I tried to stop. I tried to talk to people along the way on the sidewalk, but I felt like I couldn't really connect or communicate. I was shaking, kind of. It was upsetting. And so I went down I was afraid, I was uh, and intimidated, and so I went down to the bottom of the group and just off on my own. And I thought I'll just stand down here by myself and hold my sign. And I was holding my sign and cars, for the cars driving by. And this this man was back again. He had followed me down there. He pursued me, targeted me, and pursued me down to this new, spot. And now he was putting his stick and his sign in my face again. And it was right here, right in my zone, maybe a foot away from my face, and I just took my hand and I just moved it down. I grabbed it strong and I moved it down. He said, "Oh no, you're not doing that to me. I've seen the videos." And by that, I meant that I had seen online a lot of examples of them behaving this way. And I knew they were bullies and I wanted to stand up to it. I'd seen them is what I meant. But in that moment when I said, "Oh no, you're not doing that to me," and I moved down the sign, "You're not doing that to me. I've seen the videos," and I moved it down, and it was all in one motion. His fist came at me and it hit my face so hard I went off my feet. I was standing by the cars and I flew all the way back to the sidewalk. I flew like the width of a car and ended up part way on the sidewalk. I was just in an instant. I was off my feet. Everything's black. I'm landing. I landed with my head down like this, and I just froze. It was shocking. And it was shocking to everyone who was around me. A lot of the older, women were right there, and they were trying to ask me how I was doing and stuff like that. And I was just thinking, like, we need help. We need a cop or an ambulance or video or, like, like do something, And they were just like, "Are you okay? Sit up, can you get up?" And I was just like, no, that's not, we need to be like ready in those moments, But yeah, and so then the cops were there right away. And they started asking me, they started taking a statement from me, and I remember I was talking to this cop, and I was telling him about what had happened, and I looked up and I saw their progress flag flying above the city hall. And I just thought, I don't know who I'm talking to, who's, captured by this ideology, part of this cult, like, that is, who's the judge going to be, and then, later I had this really bizarre conversation with the RCMP that just made me feel like, you know what, I don't want to expect anything from this system. I don't expect anything. It's just, I think that all I can really do is just tell the story. It'll be great if justice is served through the legal system. But they were telling me things like, this officer who had interviewed me was telling me information that he had got from the other officer, the one that had interviewed the attacker. He said, "Well, he doesn't have any violent incidents in his past, and this is really out of character for him, and he normally wouldn't do such a thing." And I was like, "Well, what's different?" Normally, like, what's different about hitting me, like on this day, And then he's telling me, well, he felt strongly about the issue. So to me, that sounds like he did it for Soji, I guess. Is this how Soji wants their activists to promote them? I mean, is that what he's saying? Or no, he felt strongly about the issue, and the issue was us being there because it was a counter protest. So that means he just hit me for standing there, basically, I guess, whatever that, all this. And then the other thing he said was, well, he felt vulnerable.
He
This giant man, he's about twice my size, and he's chasing me around the street, pursuing me when I'm afraid of him, and I try to get away, and he's pursuing me with a weapon, basically this big
mhm.
stick, harassing me, and then he hits me so hard I go flying off my feet. My it's a week out,
Still,
so it's going away now, but it was
you can
quite
still
a
see the
it was
bruise.
yeah, it was quite an impact. I mean, it was serious, and it could have been a lot worse. There's a lot of things that could have gone much worse with that, because based on what this cop was saying, they're trying to minimize it, and they're trying to villainize
Mhm.
me by saying that he's vulnerable, he feels vulnerable. I mean, I just, when he told that to me, I just, like, what? Like, I was just floored. Like, and it's the same word that they use in many situations, like the trans identified prisoners, they'll use that word. These are vulnerable prisoners and that sort of thing.
Vulnerable,
They use
marginalized
this word.
individuals. Yep.
Yeah.
And all you were really doing was trying to flee an aggressive situation, and you were met with mid-level violence, and you put up boundaries, and you were assaulted for that.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're
Exactly.
Mhm.
making excuses.
Yep.
So after he,
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There is a court date so far. December 19th is what I heard for the court date. And I'm waiting to get, all my papers in the mail. It's going to the Crown, and the Crown's going to be taking it on. But I don't I'm just completely cynical about it. I hope it's great. I'd like to put as much on file as possible. So
mhm.
I don't know what my opportunities are for that, but that's something I could use some help with still, is, anyone who's knowledgeable about legal stuff, who just would love to get some stuff, officially on file if possible, maybe about their patterns of violence and stuff like that, whatever evidence, even if it's not exactly, but the whole thing's going to go so fast, I think, because he already um admitted to it on the spot.
Right.
So he's probably going to just plead guilty, and he might just get sentenced on the same day. I think they might want to get it out of the way.
He wasn't going to. I mean, I talked to the other eyewitness, and he just prefers to be known as Mr. Nose because nobody knows but the nose knows. He wanted to be referred to as that. But he said that after he did that, he attempted to flee. And so this person called them out, and that big guy turned around and stuck his tongue out at them and tried to flee
Really?
again. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, then once he couldn't flee, I guess he attempted a couple times, and then when he saw he was getting corralled in, then he just made puppy dog eyes at them and told them how passionate he was about Soji and how vulnerable he felt because of the scary turfs and making him unsafe.
After you repeatedly attempted to walk away from him, and he
Yeah, well,
pursued you.
I did one major, yeah, just move. I did walk away from him as far as I knew, and then, but no, because he followed. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I understand things in Toronto went a bit more positively.
Well, the Toronto March was a lot smaller than people were expecting, but a lot of things changed after October 7th. Um, the TQRs did manage to separate our group in half. So we ended up in two groups because we were out in front of the legislative assembly, and there was another group that had started gathering behind, and the TQRs completely encircled that group, so you couldn't see them from the outside because we went looking for them, but we couldn't find them. All you could see was the rainbow flags and the pink, blue, and white flags. So
TQR is what you're saying?
trans,
TQR?
trans, queer, radical, because
Okay.
there's been a request on the part of the LGB to be separated
Yes,
from
I
these
support that.
individuals.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I do what I can to support that. So TQR, yeah. Um, so we did manage to meet up, and the two groups got together on the end, and then we had a second march. So I did a lot of marching that day. Um, but the police had very much decided to take sides because they were surrounding the Million Marchers. They were actually actively separating the two groups. So I guess there had been some police assaulted previously in different areas of Canada. So it seemed in Toronto they definitely made a decision as to which group was vulnerable.
What did they decide?
Oh no,
Yeah.
they
You
decided
guys or
that
him?
they decided the Million Marchers. Yeah, no, it was very much there was always a police. I mean, there was a point at which there was about 100 of us in front of the Legislative Assembly, and you could see the TQRs coming round from the back, not knowing there were several hundred back there that had been surrounded, and they surrounded us, and it was us in the middle, the police around us, and then the trans queer radicals on the
Wow.
outside, and they started heckling as soon as the speeches started. So
But is
I'm
this the
not.
first time? Is this the first time that the police have had a strategy and like a way to deal with these people, like for the first time ever? I hope they learn.
Um, yeah, that I know of. It seems to be very much different than it was. It's very much different than it was for me at Vernon, where the police were just kind of in the middle of the two groups and not
Mhm.
near either camp. Because at Vernon we outnumbered the counter protesters probably 10 to 1. So they had pulled out a permit on the area we'd intended to occupy, and they cordoned that off with rainbow flags, and they pretty much stayed there. But in Toronto, there was definitely more of them than us because they'd managed to split our two groups in half.
Mm.
After the two groups gathered together, then they just kind of went to their area. Um, but yeah, the police were very much different in how they handled the situation in Toronto compared to what it had been like previously and what I've heard that it's been like at other events.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to attempt to share this screen again, and let's see if we can work through this. Share the screen.
The options are. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Wow.
And there's you with your beautiful sign. I love it.
And that's the sign that threatened him so much he had to punch you to protect himself after chasing you
Isn't
all over the
that
place.
isn't that interesting? These two signs.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, you
And
can really see his weapon there.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can get a real good look at the size of this man from this next photo I got from, I think it's Skywatcher News. I'm sorry if I got your name wrong. They're the people that covered the Megan Murphy event.
Oh,
Mm,
okay.
rebel news.
Okay.
So vulnerable.
Yeah.
Look at how
Yeah.
he towers
He's
over the officer.
exactly.
And like the
Yep.
man standing at the bottom of the stairs is just not much shorter from him, and this guy's way up there. Like this guy's a monster of a
Hmm.
man. He's a
Hmm.
Goliath.
Yeah, it's quite large.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you guys want to talk a bit about my friend Carrie Isham? Do you know who she is?
Mm-mm.
Well, she's pretty sad that she can't get a groom on at the Autism Expo. Can you read this?
Oh, this.
This is the woman who did the masturbation exercises for the kindergartners,
Oh,
and we're going to
God.
go into that video in a minute. But this made me so incredibly happy. But not okay. I had a man from another booth come over multiple times to discuss trans folks. He initially appeared to be trying to engage in a genuine discourse, but his final statement was that being transgendered is either a medical issue and it should be treated medically, or it was a choice, in which case it would be suppressed. Now, do you think that maybe in his own way he's trying to say that gender dysphoria will resolve itself through puberty and that Kellie is just seeing enemy where none is? Like, so many people have suggested to this woman that there's other data, but she just keeps on grifting and grooming.
Yeah, well, if so, I wonder what, oh, tell me if you can hear that. My heater just went on.
No, I can't.
I can hear you.
So this is this question of whether it's a medical disorder requiring medical care or an identity that is linked into something that's sort of spiritual, you know, like, is that what she prefers? And so, or he, who is this person? I don't even know, but
Well, if it's at the autism
is that what's like, not the quiet part that they're not saying is that they want to see it as this sort of spiritual, like, religious experience, you know, this, and so the idea of the medical definition doesn't appeal, and then what else are you left with? Well, if it's not medical or psychological.
She's affirming any age, but we're going to go to a video here done by Pierre Barnes, so I want to give you a real good, this was the fallout after the masturbation exercise.
Oh my god.
So she did a masturbation exercise for children?
This is terrible. Oh god.
So I'm going to play it.
One of the things that I really want kindergarten kids to know is the private body part names. I'm going to pull up one of these books to show you how sometimes I have to change books to be current. So the private body parts are as follows. We've got the mouth. Nobody should ask you for kiss. Like, you don't have to kiss someone if you don't want to. We don't put our mouth on anybody's body, and nobody should put their mouth on our body. That's just a rule. Just like,
I agree.
Across the street, we look both ways. We wear a helmet when we ride our bike. The breast for everybody. Everybody has breasts. And then I say to kids that most boys have a penis, but not all, and most girls have a vulva, but not all. So in this book, I changed it right in the book.
And she did.
It is not true that all people who have a vulva identify as a girl. So on social media, the chance of it going viral is very high, particularly in this case when it was about body science, when it was about age 4-5 age children, and when private body part touching was also involved. So unfortunately, this this worksheet that went home, that was then shared on social media, went viral. And who I'm talking and went viral with was the people who are on the far alternative right. These are the same people that don't support LGBTQ. They don't support a trans man being pregnant. They don't support abortion. They support Trump. They don't support vaccinations and all of this.
You know, so you know what I do, actually, because I'm a one issue voter at this point. So
other to prepare.
Trump's kind of my only option.
Possible. The worksheet in question went like this. Some children like to touch their own private parts and some don't. That's a fact. I don't care what nationality you're from. Little people touch their private parts in public, and part of our job is as parents is to remind them not to do that. In my job as a sexual health educator, quite frequently in a kindergarten grade 1 classroom, I'll have a kid in the middle of my class touching their private parts. So I look up and say, hey friends, if someone's touching their private parts right now, remember we're in a public place.
I can't do it anymore. I can't do it. Like this. Oh, she's still going in my background. I gotta shut her off.
This woman.
Sorry. Yes.
Does she just love talking about this stuff?
Why would you even raise it
Wow.
with drawing attention to touching your privates? Little kids regulate like that just as part of their nervous system. Just ignore it or say hands in your lap. Why are you bringing attention to the private? And then she went on about drawing a place in your house where you masturbate. Like, why bring that word, very
What?
sexual word, into a child's mind? Just
Ah.
ignore it or redirect. Why is she labeling this, and for what good?
Yeah. Yeah, it's way too explicit. The materials they're bringing are way too explicit. Like planting ideas.
Like, for all the good that she does for online health and safety, it comes undone when she's telling little girls not to trust their gut and accept the female penis. Everything goes right out the window.
Yeah, no. Sorry. That's just completely beyond the level of acceptable, because I'm sharing more and more of my history, but when I was a little girl, it did not matter what the penis havers wore to what I call the pedophile party. The people who had penises were men. It didn't matter if they took off a dress. It didn't matter if they took off a skirt. It didn't matter if they wore makeup. The ones that had the penis were the men. The ones that had the clitoris and the vagina were the women. That was, it. And the other thing it does is um, it blurs a child's ability to testify, right? It confuses the issues
Yeah.
because the younger the child is, um, the more they can be confused under cross examination.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing stuff like this into it confuses the children's ability to be clear in explaining what happened to them. Should that
Absolutely.
need come forward. It's like that young girl last year it was Scotland, right, where she had been raped and had to refer to her rapist using the term her penis and such not throughout the trial. Yeah, but that child was a teenager, so better able to do that. But for a young child, no, it would just, yeah, there needs to be clarity in law and a clear distinction between this category of gender identity and the category of what is sex. Yeah, I if they want to say some girls identify as boys and those girls have vaginas, that's fine. But there needs to be a clear distinction between what is biological and what is this gender identity that goes on between the years.
Yep.
Now I want to get to some more spicy stuff that's been happening, and let's see if this screen share will work. Screen share. All right, so let's go to South Island Predator Publishing. Here we have South Island Predator Publishing catching this man. He's a teacher at the Nanaimo Ladysmith School District.
Underage child. Any individual in my... Oh, that's good.
Hang on, let's just skip here.
Still kind of new here. Anything, anyways? Like where?
Here we go.
What's up, buddy? Why are you here to meet a 14-year-old boy? I'm not. You are? I've got your picture. It's you. I've been watching you circle the block. I don't know what you're talking about. Uh-huh. I just came to get some coffee. Did you?
Yeah.
Is that why you cycled around the block a bunch and I have pictures of
Okay,
you?
that's about all we need to see of that.
Your
I'm
name's
going
Carlos,
to
isn't it? Uh-huh.
stop it and show you something else here.
When was that?
That was in the spring, I believe. But guess who this man is?
So has that person been arrested?
This man is also one of the Soji reps. Can you see that?
Oh my God.
Forward along with some issues that happened in schools back when I was still in those schools, and
Coming to meet a 14-year-old boy.
So this
Wow.
is the Soji rep for Nanaimo.
Nanaimo Ladysmith, yeah. And as from what I hear from the report is the BCTF isn't doing nothing. He's going to go back to teaching.
Wow.
Like this.
So was he
But
arrested?
isn't
Was there
he?
an investigation?
Yeah, weren't there legal? Were there any legal consequences? No.
None,
Wow.
because it wasn't a real situation. Like there's I
Yeah.
don't know all the details in it. When this when there's we finally learn out where he's teaching, we're gonna have Justin back on, I think, to explain some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Finally know what's happening to him. But this is just rampant. We caught a Lanceville principal last August. And all these youth groups are just bizarre with these age groupings. And those are some of the pictures I was going to try and share. Let me see if I can do that without causing all kinds of chaos.
Yes.
All right.
Oh my God. Love Shack program.
For ages LGBTQ LNOPs 15 to 24. That sounds like a fucking great idea, introducing 24-year-old men to 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Learn about harm reduction. Oh, and to get together and do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Partying with a 15-year-old.
Mm.
Healthy relationships. I'm sorry, there is no healthy relationship between a 24 and a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to give you pizza if you come.
Earn $10. What?
They're going to give you money and pizza for young women to come hang out with predatory men.
Yeah.
Or not all men are predatory, but you know how that group works. I just committed a genocide by saying that, I'm sure. But I mean, these are not good ideas.
Well, I know what it was like in the adult-only groups I attended, and there was definitely questionable sexual relationships going on, because the men with gender identities would take advantage of the women coming in there, and yeah, so I can't imagine they behave any better with teenagers than they do with adults.
Well,
Yeah.
even if they separated them, what's the bathroom situation look like? Is there a smoking area? Are they going to be socializing there? What are they doing to protect these two groups from contact with each other? It just sounds like a terrible idea. Same with Campbell River too.
I heard that that girls who are, you know, in whatever phase of a transition are really vulnerable to men who will pose as gay men, you know, for these girls who are thinking that they're going to become gay men, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just something I heard was happening a lot.
Well, I see it on the apps. You see, they're looking for T only, and these are like maybe they're bisexual or straight men, and they're predators. They're looking for young, vulnerable women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this crap down here.
They absolutely see them as girls.
We have an even younger group at a queer camp or queer, I don't know what it is, at the Foundry. We have 12 to 24-year-olds. Well,
Oh my God.
child bride. Look at that. Like, how different is this than like Bountiful and all the crap that happened there?
What happened to the safety I mean, when I was involved back in 2006, 2007, the youth groups had to be distinctly separated from the adult groups. Like there had to be barriers separating the two groups because the community center had a youth outreach as well as the adult stuff that was most of what it did, right? And there were safety protocols.
Yeah. Yeah, that way that used to be normal.
So these next 2 pages, I'll close this up, but look, we have as young as 12 in both these places.
Yeah.
Oh, look, indigenous, that's a new word. Indigenous youth get to be even extra more marginalized by pairing up 12-year-old girls with 24-year-old men. Isn't that progressive?
And they're all getting funding for these groups, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can stop the share on that. I got a lot of editing to do. But yeah, that's the state we're in on the island, not to mention all these wacko policies at the aquatic centers and everywhere else.
Well, I think of how lucky I am because I came so close to working at the Nanaimo Pride Society.
At what?
Not the Pride Society.
Oh.
It's the community center called there now. The LGBT.
Oh, you would have been right in the thick of it.
I was right when Captain Snowdown, I think he was called, took his 2 years off to do his PhD. Yeah. We came very, very close to work. But it was just a fluke of a situation that I ended up not working there. Yeah.
Yeah, to the extent that people can avoid being around these folks, your life, your quality of life will be improved. It's a cultic mentality, and I mean, I've been thinking about family members of mine and how I'm going to talk to certain people, and it's all kind of a new awareness for me, but yeah. I'm happy that I've been able to find other people nearby that I can be honest with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder what's going to happen next as far as marches and stuff go. Has anyone heard anything?
They're wanting to organize petitions, keep people active, interested, engaged in their local areas, to keep the momentum going. Because obviously we're in, the frozen tundra, so we're not really wanting to march in the middle of January. But yeah, there's definitely stuff going on to keep people. To keep the momentum going, to build up community connections. Yeah.
I think it's good to connect with whoever you can in your personal life, who you can identify that you're able to be honest with, as I said, and I think that it could be really cool to have small gatherings in your home, and like a little gathering to I don't know, it could be an educational thing, or it could be just everyone already agrees, and you just know you're going to be able to speak freely on that evening, or maybe there's something you want to discuss together. But I just think it's really good to build these in-person connections, and we kind of have to almost build like an underground society.
Yes, very much so.
Well, I have a friend, Zoe, and she started a church, and I'm like, that's kind of almost where it's at.
Yeah.
These Christian people, who many of them, it's really interesting because I'm having to deal with old homophobes too, but it's like the Christians are saving us from an even worse conversion therapy than they put on us. But now, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, it's unexpected. It's very unexpected for me. I never ever would have thought that the roles would flip so much. I always knew, like, oh, there could be some apocalyptic future, and maybe I'll be hiding out in the woods or whatever, but I never ever imagined that the roles would flip like that, because I was more of a lefty countercultural person, and the fact that those comrades would be chasing me down did not cross my mind. But of course, that's the twist.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, I never would have thought I would find myself on this side of the issue when I was so far on the other side and involved and active. But you tossed out the conversion therapy, and I went to conversion therapy as a teenager, and I came out of it convinced that I was a dyke because the conversion therapy was just about behavior modification. And so I was constantly pushing myself beyond my comfort level to attempt, to be heterosexual, thinking that I I, I grew up. I lived with a history of sexual exploitation when I was a youth. Um, so I was very confused and not understanding why I was hypersexual. Um, so the conversion therapy I went to convinced me, like I went to a Christian therapist to learn how to be heterosexual, but there was no addressing of the underlying trauma. It was all about behavior modification. If you can do this and do this and do this. So conversion therapy doesn't help and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think that most people understand that. Like, I think if I gotten proper therapy, my life would have possibly looked very much different. But because I mean, okay, so I learned because I look like a guy now. So I've learned over the past 10 years that I am not at all offended or threatened by the way gay men approach me sexually. As a teenager, the way guys approached me left me feeling uncomfortable when I looked like a girl and I was a girl. So I've learned that it's not about men, it was about where I was in my trauma and how that, and I'm not explaining it well, but the approach was a power dynamic situation where I felt disempowered. Whereas when gay men approach each other in a public setting, there's not that same power differential there. So I've learned that I don't, you know, so my sexuality is a lot more complicated than I thought it was. So I don't know if I'm heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, or what. And there's a point at which now it doesn't matter because I've got diabetes and I'm no longer able to experience sexual arousal. Oh, I can experience sexual arousal, but I physically can no longer. Anyhow, so the conversion therapy thing that is just about, behavior modification doesn't help anybody. But there are instances where proper trauma therapy will help people be more comfortable in however they're going to end up being sexual beings or even gendered beings.
Yes. Yes, but proper therapy is there are laws against proper therapy. I mean,
it's getting almost impossible to access. Yes.
The affirmation, the legislating a certain type of treatment for a certain type of patient is such government overreach. I can't believe that people aren't. It just shows the distorted mentality that where things have really flipped so fast, and people are completely disoriented because for the government to pass a law telling a therapist how to do their job, and that with this
Mhm.
one specific, disorder, this one specific diagnosis, which is the self-diagnosis also.
Mhm.
And it's such blatant overreach. It is truly bizarre that this is just being done, and being done all over the place. And the fact that it is so outrageous is more destabilizing energy, like the big lie, where it's surprising to people and it's confusing, and how can this be happening? Why are we doing this strange stuff? But everyone's doing it, and I'm going along with it.
Well, in the affirmation model, when a person reaches the stage of wanting to back out of the trans trajectory, then it's, oh, that's just internalized transphobia. We need to
Mhm.
keep you going. You know, the person can self ID in, but you can't self ID out.
That's just so
Yeah.
bizarre that they've changed gender dysphoria into like, and like working it out into internalized transphobia. That's just so disheartening to me.
Mhm.
They they do it by manipulating language with this sleight of hand, where they're simply substituting words for one another or equating them with one another. They do it with gender and sex, and also in this case with homosexuality and transsexuality. They're being equated and lumped together when it's completely different. It doesn't fit at all. But clearly, this is another Trojan horse. There's Trojan horses on every hill.
Yeah, when I was first transitioning, it was very much understood that if I was dating a woman, she would have been seen as a lesbian or a dyke. If I was dating a guy, then that would have been still seen as a heterosexual relationship. However, the social relationship was seen. There was an underlying understanding that biology still existed, but then that was when we still used terms like male to female and female to male, um, to describe ourselves, right? And that language is now considered transphobic.
Who can keep up? I actually had one moment with the RCMP officer, when I was having that bizarre conversation with him about how vulnerable this poor man is, this poor mountain of a man. And I did start I can't remember exactly what how it fit in with the conversation, but at one point I was trying to explain to him how this person had been indoctrinated, and how they said kill a turf on, is sort of one of their mottos, and that they had these violent. I was trying to explain to him these patterns of violence, and these threats and indoctrination and all this kind of stuff. And he didn't know what turf meant. And so I started explaining turf, and then I was just going off on all kinds of tangents and talking about women's space and this and that. And he said, that yeah, the words, I can't keep track of, all the words. And I said, yeah, you don't have to. They keep changing, and it's not natural. But this is
Wow.
very disruptive to people. Everyone can notice what's happening with the language and with the way the words are.
Yeah.
I tried to just give him a little encouragement to push back, or, think it through a little more, don't just go along with it.
The Nanaimo RCMP don't know what to do because these people are habitual police callers. I mean, I have my own section online about police number to call if you see me do anything specific. They got me on hot dial to watch me
Really?
and call in Scott because he's legendary transgenocide. I don't know, all this kind of
Oh,
made up
really?
words. But yeah,
You have got to look up the meaning of genocide. Genocide is a term that is very tightly defined by convention and it can only be applied to three distinct groups: a nationality, a race, or a religion.
Well, they're a religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by claiming genocide, they are admitting their religion because they are not a nationality and they are not a race.
Hmm.
So
That makes sense.
they're
But
claiming genocidal status and they're admitting to being a religious movement.
yeah, and that actually there could be some some standing in the courts. It's possible. We'll see. Court cases are starting to work their way through. The US, of course, is court system is very important down there for resolving issues. So, and I think there are some that might be using the argument that this is a religious movement. Well, it'll be really interesting to see what arguments people use as they're fighting against this.
Yeah, because they are creating a matrix of emotional fragility in people with the affirmation model, because no is therapeutic. No teaches you to internalize your locus of control. No, you can't do that. Then you've got to deal with the feelings and the stuff and figure it out. But this yes is, it's not helpful.
I feel very strongly that I was punched for saying no.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. It was a narcissistic injury.
Yeah.
They cannot stand that, to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, because they keep getting told yes.
And he totally darvoed you after too.
Yep.
Just gaslighting and deflecting.
Yeah.
I'm so vulnerable. She was threatening me. She walked away and said no.
Well, I'm getting time off. Keep me in touch with that court date because I'm going to go. And
I will.
Will you be there as well?
Yeah, I will. I was chatting with Zoe about it, and we were wondering if we might want to do something outside.
Yeah.
We have to think it through, but I think calling attention to their patterns of violence, is that's what my situation is about, really, is the way that that the freedom to demonstrate is being curtailed by these people. The democratic society, we're supposed to be able to protest safely, and we're not.
I want to get them on their safe space policy too, because when they came at me and canceled my music career, the same venue was hosting Pride, and I writ them and I said, okay, this is what's happening in these groups you're supporting. It's very violent for women, and it's not nice for gay men. And I said, and it's not nice for trans people who disagree. I said, I want to know what you're going to make to protect, what policies you're going to make to protect women at Pride events. And they wouldn't answer me. And I think knowing this man's identity is a community safety. They're always worried about the harms of dead naming and misgendering. We have someone who beats women for what? I mean, he's a danger to our community. He shouldn't be allowed in Pride events.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I called the RCMP because I wanted to ask that question. Because I don't know what his name is yet either, but and they put me through to someone's desk, and I left a message and they didn't call me back. But I honestly feel a sense of anxiety around trying to call the officer who interviewed him, because I know that all those bizarre messages came from her. It was a woman, Melhume or something like that. And I just feel, I could call and ask her what his name is, but I get so nervous to think about calling her, because I'm absolutely sure that she said all these horrible things, put him in the report, and was like taking him seriously when he was, claiming to be vulnerable and this nice guy that would normally never do such a thing and all this kind of stuff. That all came from her, so it just makes me, I don't know. And I don't know if I should get his name. It'll probably be on the paperwork when it comes in the mail, is probably what'll happen. Like one of these days I'll get my little packet from the Crown with all the information, and it'll probably be in there. So we will find out.
Yes, he's an adult, so you have the right to know his name.
Yeah. And I could try also calling back again. I just don't want to talk to that one because I just know she's part of the cult. So
Well, keep us posted, and we're not going to let this go on Vancouver Island.
Yeah, it's not okay.
No way.
It's really not okay. Yeah. And I appreciate that, and I'm in it for the long haul. I'm going to be writing and, thinking it through and putting my thoughts out there in different ways.
Yeah. Right on.
Well, it is now 5:38. I think we've had a nice long discussion. I think, how does everyone feel about wrapping it up?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for meeting. And I'll edit this thing and all the crazy parts out.
Yeah,
thanks.
good. Thanks a lot.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much for joining us.
That was fun.